a great first term, but we're going to have an even better second term. And I think we're going to do things that people would be shocked at.
So here we go, and he's just getting started. Day 3 of Trump 2.0. President checking off his to-do list and keeping the White House press corps on its toes, as we saw. Good morning, everybody. We called this day 2.5, right? Because Monday was a full day for most people. It was a half day, technically.
It felt like a day and a half, so we could call it 3.
I'm William Hemmer, and you?
I'm Dana Perino, and this is America's Newsroom. We're so glad you're with us today because we have a lot of news to cover. It's almost impossible to keep up with it all, and we are barely into week 1. The announcements are coming fast and furious. The president announcing a $500 billion private sector investment in AI infrastructure. This after a whirlwind first day, where he declared a national emergency on the border, moved to expedite fossil fuel production, and officially created the Department of Government Efficiency.
So also he's going after DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, putting all government DEI staffers on paid leave. The deadline to close their offices is today at 5 o'clock Eastern Time.
Jackie Heinrich, she is live at the White House with more. Good morning.
Good morning to you guys. That's right. By 5 o'clock today, any federal employees who are in DEI roles will be placed on leave. Any DEI-related trainings and contracts will be canceled. And you'll also see public-facing websites that have to deal with DEI within the federal government, also including social media accounts, come down. The change is going to undo an estimated 500 actions that were taken under the Biden administration after his 2021 executive order and return to a merit-based hiring system. Trump's order also is directing the Attorney General to create plans to deter the private sector from adopting or continuing DEI programs. His nominee for Attorney General, Pam Bondi, is set to get a committee vote next week, but dates for several other nominees have not yet been set, including for DNI nominee Tulsi Gabbard and HHS nominee RFK Jr. After meeting with Republican congressional leaders, Trump said recess appointments are on the table, which would allow some nominees potentially to temporarily take office before a confirmation vote. Listen.
Mr. President, is it also true in your conversations with Republicans today that you asked them to consider recess appointments for cabinet officials?
I think, yeah, if it's needed. I don't think it's going to be needed. Marco, as you know, got passed overwhelmingly with 99-0, which is pretty amazing. Marco.
Now, last night, the president continued to wield the pen. More on the pardon blitz. He extended a pardon to Russ Ulbricht, the founder of Silk Road. That's an underground website that used cryptocurrency payment, but was widely used to sell illegal drugs. We don't yet know the president's public schedule for today, but we got this preview for later this week.
We're going to be issuing an executive order demanding that they immediately let that water come down to through California, farmers, even people living in Beverly Hills. Now, those people have been a lot of them are wiped out. Believe it or not, you know, they were having restrictions.
So the president announced he is going to travel to California later this week. He'll also be making a stop in North Carolina, the area that was ravaged by the hurricane. He'll also be stopping by in Nevada to thank voters there for delivering the state's electoral votes to his win, guys.
So it's the opposite of sleepy. All right. Thanks, Jackie. We appreciate it. Bill?
So, Dana, at the hour, DEI is really in the focus. So come on over here on the board. And, you know, they want to do away with this. We'll see how much of it they can in the end. I'll get to that point in a moment here with our guest momentarily. Here's the executive order: protect civil rights and merit-based opportunity by ending illegal DEI. This is something he campaigned on. He talked about it, and he's done it within the first few hours in the White House. This is the executive orders in the first 100 days, all right? Here's Obama, okay, 0 through 100. He was right around 20 on day 100. Let me clear that off. Trump's first term now, okay? You see the escalation a little bit here. He clocked in a little more than 30 executive orders after 100 days. I'll clear that off. Here is Biden now, okay? So he's up here around 40 at the 100-day mark, and we're a long way from Trump's 100 days, but after 2.5, as we said a moment ago, here he is, comes in right around 30 executive orders, or just shy of that. So Josh Holmes joins us now to talk about a lot of this. Let's start with DEI. Josh, and good morning to you. I thought Turley put a fine point on it this morning in a message he sent out on X. Even if half of these initiatives make it through court challenges, they would fundamentally alter the scope and culture of the federal government. He goes on to say the EO and the DEI and the higher educational institutions and other organizations is an example of sweeping language and mandate. His initial point, if half of it goes through, it alters a lot. What do you make of that?
No, listen, Bill, that's entirely true. Also entirely consistent with what he campaigned upon. I think one of the most significant acute differences of this presidency is based on how he campaigned and what he could do by executive order. I mean, he really did promise to change the culture. People were fed up with divisive racial policies coming out of the administration. Obviously, the border issues, which significant amount of executive actions, all the things that he talked about during the course of the campaign were things that this president spent an awful lot of time thinking about what he would do differently if he had ever had another opportunity. And so, of course, on the first full day, he's taking full advantage of that, not letting a second go to waste.
It's been fascinating to watch Democrats, and they are so discombobulated that you had this Punchbowl News headline, House Democrats privately squirm about their leadership and message, and then a USA Today question on Democratic leadership. Who do you now see as the leader of the Democratic Party? Don't know was 30%, nobody 19%. I'm reminded of something that Nancy Pelosi has said, and she said it to Hakeem Jeffries, that power is not given, it is taken. And I'm wondering if we will ever see a Democrat, I'm sure these things swing back and forth, but who will the Democrat be, maybe we don't have a name yet, that just says the Biden years were terrible, getting that behind them so that they're all free to speak their minds?
Yeah, I mean, you would need a basic acknowledgement that they were terrible, right? You saw Chuck Schumer come out yesterday, who couldn't even speak to whether he thought that the Biden last-minute pardons were inappropriate. And look, Nancy Pelosi knows a little something about taking power, right? She and everybody else tried to do that from Joe Biden and give it to Kamala Harris during the summer. I think the biggest problem that Democrats face is it's really tough to rebrand and come up with a message that works on a whole bunch of policies that don't, and the American people roundly reject it. It wasn't so much how they were saying it or their messenger or anything else so much as it was a bunch of stuff that really didn't work for Americans. And I think that's the common problem. You saw immediately after the election a whole lot of people beginning to speculate about whether they needed to come to the center on some of these divisive social issues. And then they immediately reverted right back. And you see that coming up in the confirmation hearings, everything else. This Democratic Party has not changed one iota from where they were pre-November.
Yeah, last point here on what's happening in D.C. Speaker Mike Johnson said this about what he's seeing.
There's a sea change in Washington. I was with the president at the White House for 3 hours today with Leader Thune and other leaders from the conference here. We are all united on this agenda, Shauna. We know we've got to deliver on that America First agenda. We will. We've been working on it already. The president is already going to have legislation to sign. His executive orders came out as a flurry, as we expected.
So that was Sean Hannity last night. What is the sea change in D.C.? And do you really believe that Republicans on the inside are fully united? Josh.
Yeah, I do. I think this is the most united the Republican Party has been in an awful long time. I'll tell you one big difference, Bill. The jarring pace of play from the sleepy last 4 years where, you know, a press corps would get a hard lid on the day's activities the previous night. And now they've got two freewheeling press conferences in the first full day of action. Yeah, I mean, look, he's really pushing everyone to work hard. Boy, did they need to do that. And I think it extends not just, you know, to the lawmakers who are trying to enact his agenda. It's the press corps. You had executive orders dealing with the federal workforce having to come back to work for the first time since COVID. So this guy's, listen, President Trump's going to make people go to work. And I think the most American people are really happy about that.
And it's interesting because it is a second term, but with a staff that has completely fresh legs and knew exactly what they wanted to do.
True.
So I think that you see a little bit of evidence of that. Thanks so much, Josh. You were great on the panel last night, but even better this morning, I would say. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh.
Oh, thank you.
And don't miss President Trump. He'll be on Hannity tonight. That's at 9 p.m. Eastern, right here on the Fox News Channel.
In the last 24 hours, ICE arrested over 308 serious criminals. Some of them were murderers. Some of them were rapists. Some of them raped a child. Some were sexual assault of a child. So ICE is doing their job.
So that update from just a few hours ago, live here on the channel. And breaking this morning, DOJ ordering a crackdown on jurisdictions that resist the Trump immigration agenda. So what could that mean for blue cities and states? We await, and we'll fill you in on that coming up here, Dana.
Meanwhile, Vice President J.D. Vance swearing in John Husted to succeed him in the Senate. So how does he plan to help enact the Trump agenda? We're going to ask him. He's coming up.
Also, a blizzard on the bayou like you have never seen before. You got snow and ice and a historic winter storm that's blanketing Louisiana and Texas, and the temperatures are chilly in the south.
Came out at like 7:30 and I was like, whoa, it's like snowing, and I was like, okay, well, it's just snowing a little bit. It's not going to stick. It's not going to really be anything. And then we came out like an hour later and it was like full white. And I was like, look, we have snow. I was like a little child in a candy store. I was so pumped.
They are having a good time. Louisiana is digging out. Here's a live look at Bourbon Street. You've probably been there. It's covered in a layer of snow right now. The Super Bowl there in just a couple of weeks. There's a historic winter storm that brought record snowfall yesterday. Baton Rouge saw one of their snowiest days in at least a century. And Fox Weather storm specialist Mike Seidel is live from Baton Rouge. I got pictures this morning from our friends in Bluffton, South Carolina, and their dogs are having a good time down there.
This is unbelievable, Dana. Talk about extreme weather. Not only the snowiest day on record yesterday, over 7 inches here in Baton Rouge. This morning, 7 degrees above zero. That's our coldest January day on record. Right now, it's a balmy 13. Now, we're going to get barely above freezing today, and with some sun, this is going to slush up some. We're going to watch this vehicle come up the road. We've had near collisions since yesterday. Cars trying to get up these streets. It's a big skating rink, not only here, but out on Interstate 10, which is still shut down from here all the way over towards the Texas-Louisiana border. As far as snowfall goes, New Orleans has had 8 to 10 inches, their snowiest day on record. It looked like a blizzard out there on Lake Pontchartrain yesterday. Just incredible. The airport is up and running this morning, but still about 2/3 of cancellations out of MSY. Over at Houston's Intercontinental, yesterday was a complete shutdown. Today, they've got about 1/3 of their cancellations up on the board. Today's high getting just above freezing, so we'll get a little melting. But Dana, tomorrow morning it goes down to 18, and that's another record low, so everything's going to lock up again. Schools are closed again today for the second day in a row, including LSU. And this driver right here, as you can see, has stopped. And I don't know if they're giving up. They're going to drop off the passenger. They may just back up and go the other way. But again, just no way to get around here today. No plows, no salt. We've got to wait for Mother Nature to melt this off. By Sunday, we'll be back into the 60s where they should be this time of the year.
Wow. Mike, that's amazing. And you think there's no equipment in these southern states to deal, especially with ice.
No. I think Houston, I heard, brought in plows from North Texas around Dallas. But, I mean, look at this right here. This is about 2 inches of solid ice. I call it like plastic. It's very dense. It doesn't melt very fast like just some wet snow. So, yes, this is going to soften up today, Bill and Dana. But guess what? After about 5 or 6 o'clock, it's back to hard as a rock. And you really got to be careful out here. For some reason, I forgot to bring my clamp-ons because I was coming to Louisiana. I didn't think I'd need them.
Wow, clamp on, clap off, indeed. All right, thanks, Mike. Take care, and everybody, your local officials there, be careful.
Dangerous
you don't
times.
Want to fall.
Yeah, for a lot of folks in there, dangerous times. So, yeah, be careful. Okay, 19 past now. Here we go. Swearing in.
That you take this obligation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which you are about to enter. So help you God.
I do.
Great. Congratulations, Senators.
There we go. The two new Republicans, Ashley Moody and the gentleman to your right, Vice President J.D. Vance swearing in the new Ohio Senator John Husted, who takes J.D. Vance's position in Ohio. Former Ohio Lieutenant Governor served the remainder of Vance's Senate term until 2026, and he is now with us for his first national interview. And thank you, Senator. You made a great choice to join Dana and me today. And good morning to you. Congratulations. I want to get to your agenda in a moment here, but first, here's the Ohio Governor, Mike DeWine, on You Watch.
I have worked with him. I have seen him. I know his knowledge of Ohio. I know his heart. I know what he cares about. I know his skills. And all of that tells me that he is the right person for this job.
So that was Friday. Now it's Wednesday. You're in Washington, D.C., trying to find yourself your way around these different halls. You were a House Speaker, a state senator, Secretary of State, Lieutenant Governor, all in Ohio. I don't know if back in Ohio they would consider you a part of MAGA or how you characterize yourself. Are you on board Donald Trump's agenda 100%?
Absolutely. I'm an America First Republican. We are going to get it done. We're going to do Made in America. I always say you can't do Made in America without Made in Ohio. We have to get our supply chain, whether that is energy, chips, steel, pharmaceuticals. We need to make those things in America so that American people can count on the fact in times of need that they will have what they need to live and thrive.
You got a lot of big tech coming into, especially the Columbus, Ohio area. You're well aware of that. But you've talked a lot about social media. And, you know, TikTok is out there right now, and the president wants to save it, apparently. Here's a list of harms from the U.S. Surgeon General about social media. If you're a teen, you spend more than 3 hours a day on social media, face double the risk of poor mental health outcomes. Half of the teens, they say, ages 13 to 17, say social media makes them feel worse. You got about 60% of teenage girls say they've been contacted by a stranger on social media platforms in ways that makes them feel uncomfortable. Should we keep TikTok or do away with it, Senator?
Well, the law has already done away with it. I can tell you that in our household, my wife Tina and I banned TikTok a long time ago. And you know, the situation is that right now these companies are subject to fines under the law. Perhaps President Trump can come in and negotiate a sale that would lead to American ownership of TikTok, but as long as it's owned by the Chinese Communist Party, essentially, I'm not in favor of it.
Okay, but a 75-day extension, you favor that?
You know, look, it's not whether I favor it or not. The law's in place. The companies are going to have to comply with the law. I think that the president really is just trying to buy some time in terms of enforcement of the law until he can perhaps negotiate a sale that will allow people who use TikTok to continue their businesses and their activities.
You know, it's been a big story this past week and will continue to be so. You personally, what's it like? How's it gone?
Well,
what do you want the folks back in Ohio to know about your experience?
Well, so far it's been a pretty good week. My friend J.D. Vance gets inaugurated vice president. The Buckeyes win a national championship in football, and I take the oath of office as a U.S. Senator, and it's been good so far. I look forward to representing the people of Ohio. It's been a commitment of me and my family over the past 25 years to serve the people of our state, and I'm excited to get focused on, you know, trying to do a better job with how we get America's fiscal situation under control. But I'm also going to lean in on technology a lot because AI is going to be a force in our future, whether that's for good or for bad. And we need energy to do Made in America. I'm going to lean in on that as well. You can't do Made in America, have all these factories, all of these data centers without a rational policy on energy that will make sure we have an adequate supply, but also to make sure it's affordable, because if you want to attack inflation, energy is built into the cost of everything that we use, and so we have to have a rational energy policy in this country.
All right, sounds like a good first chapter. Senator, thank you. We'll be in contact with you as we go, okay? Thank you for your time.
Great.
Congratulations.
Dana reads sports.
Might need help with this one, Bill.
You go.
There's the Baseball Hall of Fame, and it's welcoming 3 new members this year. Outfielder Ichiro Suzuki.
Very good.
Okay, starting pitcher CC Sabathia.
Very good.
And
2 for 2.
Closer, I was going to say closer. Closer, Billy Wagner. Ichiro is the first Japanese-born player to receive the honor. He got 393 of 394 votes from the Baseball Writers Association of America, just short of a unanimous vote. Wow, even Marco Rubio got a unanimous vote.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hard. I mean, some of these writers are really tough.
So why is he so good?
I think they did well. I think they picked 3 good guys.
393 out of 394.
You're all right? Like Ben's our baseball correspondent over here. Yeah. Okay, there you go.
All right. Congratulations.
And he was listening too. You know what strikes me is like in the past 24 hours, all these Republicans and Trump too, these guys understand the challenges of technology and AI and what's coming our way. And, you know, you listen to Sam Altman say, if we don't do it, the Chinese are going to do it. You know, like that new senator said it right there. Yeah. You know, technology is really important.
But what's he think about baseball? Next time we are going to ask.
I would imagine he's a Reds fan.
Okay.
That's what I think. All right, punch, counterpunch. Here we go now. The Trump administration fighting back against lawsuits involving birthright citizenship. Another one on the hot burn stove has the upper hand in the legal showdown. Who's got that right now? We'll have a look at that. AI on the agenda, as we mentioned. President Trump announcing a massive investment in America's future. Will it pay off? How will it pay off down the road?
There are hundreds of millions of people using these tools today. It'll go to billions. The benefits of this tremendously outweigh the downsides.
President Donald J. Trump.
Here we go now. Markets are open in New York City, and we're going to be up triple digits in a moment here. The futures are pointing out open about 130 points, and we may go higher. The NASDAQ's up over 200 points at the open here. You know, Dana, one of my predictions now for 2025 is that we would touch on Dow 50,000.
Yeah, not end, but touch.
Touch, yeah.
Yep.
Could end, but definitely touch, all right? So I don't know what's the percentage of 7, what's the percentage on 6 of 44? I do not know.
You're asking me?
I think it's like 12 or 14%. So if you're up like 12% for the rest of the year, that's considered a pretty good year. So I think it's entirely possible we hit that.
I think it's possible. I think that's a pretty.
Especially as we.
It's not that bold a prediction, I have to say.
You don't think so?
No, I think you got to aim higher.
You didn't come
Do
up.
better.
You didn't come up with it. All right. To the White House we go from yesterday.
These world-leading technology giants are announcing the formation of Stargate. So put that name down in your books, because I think you're going to hear a lot about it in the future.
This was a pretty remarkable event. If you got a chance to watch it, American innovation on full display at the White House. On the first full day, President Trump announcing a major investment to build artificial intelligence infrastructure in the U.S., leading to the expected creation of tens of thousands of jobs. Edward Lawrence, Fox Business, has the details. Edward, what will it look like, and will it fit the bill here? Good morning to you.
Yeah. And, Bill, you're trying to take my job with the Dow predictions there.
Well. Yeah, not so much, but continue.
The market certainly likes this. The president bringing together the biggest names in artificial intelligence to try and make this massive announcement. Now, Stargate, it's going to be the largest data center in the United States, and it's going to be based in Texas initially. And the president brought together the CEO of SoftBank, the CEO of Oracle, and the CEO of ChatGPT for the announcement yesterday. It's $100 billion initially, with the commitment to scale up to $500 billion over the next 4 years.
It'll ensure the future of technology. What we want to do is we want to keep it in this country. China is a competitor and others are competitors. We want it to be in this country, and we're making it available. I'm going to help a lot through emergency declarations, because we have an emergency. We have to get this stuff built.
So Texas will only be the start. As the investment scales up in the coming years, the data centers will expand to other states. The founder of OpenAI sees this investment as leading the AI revolution in the U.S.
I believe that as this technology progresses, we will see diseases get cured at an unprecedented rate. We will be amazed at how quickly we're curing this cancer and that one and heart disease.
And President Trump has promised to expedite permits to get this project finished. Bill?
All right, it's going to be interesting. And your job is safe, Edward. Do not worry about that. From the North Lawn, thank you. Nice to see you.
Meantime, a who's who of tech titans were in attendance at the Capitol on Monday to watch Trump's inauguration. Their presence marking a sea change in their relationship to the incoming president. And joining us now is Walter Isaacson. He's a history professor at Tulane University and author of the biography Elon Musk, which I want to talk about in just a moment. I wondered if there is a moment in history that can help us understand the current time that we're living in, because it does feel like there is tremendous technological change coming, and there's great opportunity and challenges that come with any of these moments.
Absolutely. I teach the history of technology at Tulane, and we saw it with the Industrial Revolution. We saw it with the computer and digital revolution beginning in the 1950s and the personal computer in the 70s. I think, you saw Sam Altman talk about what it's going to do for disease. I think we see a life sciences revolution based on CRISPR and the editing of DNA. But now we're going to have an artificial intelligence revolution. And this is a sea change, partly politically, too, because I think one of the things that Donald Trump has done is decided to throw in totally with this movement and the technology there. And we are going to see an acceleration of technological innovation by the cutting of rules and regulations. And some would argue that we need a whole lot more rules and regulations on everything from social media to artificial intelligence, but it's clearly not the way that the people, including Elon Musk, who are around President Trump, now see it. It's the Trump tech people who have been the ones ascendant in this coalition.
It was almost as if Joe Biden's presidency kind of pushed these guys into the arms of President Trump, whose arms were wide open, and said, come on in. Here's a graphic of all of the tech titans that donated to Trump's inaugural campaign. All of these guys came as well. They were there, and they were happy to be a part of it. And they seem very energized and excited. That also includes Elon Musk. Here's a headline from the Associated Press. Elon Musk's prominence during inauguration ceremony stamps tech titans' place in Trump's orbit. We also had a poll that 50% disapprove of him serving as a Trump advisor, but 47% approve. And I think we have to wait to see what's happening. Walter, I traveled overseas over the holiday, and on my flight, I just saw within the cab, there were 3 people reading your book about Elon Musk. Wow. This autobiography has been out for a while, but people are taking a continued interest in it. Here's President Trump.
You need a
I just want to do
playbook.
call for number 5, and then I'm going to give you the rest of the time. This call for number 5 of Donald Trump and what he wants to do on Mars.
The United States will once again consider itself a growing nation, one that increases our wealth, expands our territory. We will pursue our manifest destiny into the stars, launching American astronauts to plant the stars and stripes on the planet Mars.
What do you know about the persuasive capabilities of Elon Musk?
He has an intensity to it, and you talk about the missions that he's been on throughout his life. In the book, I talk about the fact that he really feels we have to go to different planets. I mean, this is a kid who was growing up without friends, but loved reading science fiction and X-Men comics, so that's a mission. Moving us into the era of electric vehicles, but also into safe artificial intelligence. And so now, as you said, during the inauguration, he and the other tech bros, but him in particular, is sitting there in front of the Commerce Secretary, in front of the cabinet. So I think that he's really, if you want to understand what's going to happen in this administration, you have to look at what Elon Musk has been doing for the past 20 years in driving deregulation and change and challenging rules and regulations through Tesla and SpaceX, and getting satellites into orbit and landing rockets upright.
What do you think he would believe is more difficult, landing on Mars or cutting $2 trillion in government spending?
You know, I think he would think that George Will had a good column saying, you know, cutting government isn't rocket science. It's harder than that. I think the problem Musk faces is that he pretty much owns SpaceX. If he wants to say, let's get rid of that heat shield around the Raptor engine, and they say, you're nuts, and he does it, and it works, that's fine. It's his company. He can take risks. He's going to meet resistance because he doesn't own the federal government. But I predict, and if you watch his progression through the book, he does not stop. He's intense. And I think both with his the support Trump has given him and the power he has of both his personality and social media, he is going to be able to do in government what he did throughout the book in Tesla and SpaceX.
Pretty incredible, and as are you. Enjoy the snow there in Louisiana.
Hey,
Walter
yeah,
Isaacson.
It's snowy. You got to come down, Dana and Bill. It's good to see you all again.
Thank you so much.
All illegal entry will immediately be halted, and we will begin the process of returning millions and millions of criminal aliens back to the places from which they came.
So we have big and tough action on the border hours after the inauguration, and Tom Homan was live a bit earlier today and spelled it out in the numbers. The legal challenges, however, inevitably follow, so we'll get into all that as you look live at Eagle Pass, Texas, with the sun up on this Wednesday morning.
I look down to...
Okay, another moment, perhaps. We will have another moment together, eventually and in a time. The Justice Department, Dana, now directing federal prosecutors to investigate local jurisdictions trying to obstruct President Trump's enforcement of immigration. Now, the acting AG writes in a memo, officials must do everything necessary to protect the public and secure the border. That includes removing illegal immigrants and prosecuting them for any crimes that they may have committed. All right.
Back. There's in two days, last 24 hours, total apprehensions on the southwest border, 766. Compare that to the 10 to 12,000 Biden had at one time. You can't have strong national security if you don't have border security.
Tom Homan earlier today as the border crackdown under President Trump is already in play. Brooke Taylor live in El Paso, Texas with more. And Brooke, do you already notice a difference?
Dana, we do. And President Trump ordered cartels in one of his executive orders to be labeled as these foreign terrorist organizations. So what that is going to do, it's going to allow authorities to fight back against these cartels and also traffickers in a more aggressive way. What I could tell you is that here in El Paso, we have seen it firsthand. These cartels, they really have complete control over this area and who and what comes across the border. So earlier this month, Border Patrol agents found this massive smuggling tunnel connecting from Mexico to here in El Paso. The tunnel described as one of the most sophisticated tunnels officials have seen. It is 6 feet tall, 4 feet wide, hidden within a storm drain system. Shocking video from inside the tunnel shows just how elaborate this tunnel is. It even had lighting and a ventilation system. Agents uncovered the tunnel after removing a metal plate hiding its entry hole near the border. We spoke with a former Border Patrol agent who retired in 2023 after more than 20 years on the job. He pointed out that policies under the Biden administration have allowed smugglers and traffickers to get away with too much.
I can't tell you how many times as an agent we would catch somebody with a kid who didn't even know, and he wasn't calling them daddy or mommy. It was a smuggler. But, you know, we had to take their word for it.
And that massive tunnel, authorities say, allowing just drugs and humans to be trafficked throughout it. Who knows how many people and how much drugs have actually been trafficked there. In his executive order, President Trump calls these cartels a national security threat and says they have flooded the United States with drugs, violence, and gangs, Dana.
Brooke Taylor, keep us posted. Thank you. And meanwhile, 22 states are suing to block President Trump's executive order ending birthright citizenship for those born in the U.S., no matter what their parents' status is. And the administration says it is ready to fight back, and it might have to do that. There's lawsuits already, as you saw. Corinne Hajar is opinion writer and editorial board member at the Boston Globe, and Noah Rothman, a senior writer at National Review.
Morning, guys.
Morning. Great to have you here. I want to play something from President Trump the other day. Call for number 2, please. This is him on signing the birthright citizenship order.
This next order relates to the definition of birthright citizenship under the 14th Amendment of the United States.
Yeah, that's a good one. Birthright. That's a big one. We're the only country in the world that does this with birthright, as you know. And it's just absolutely ridiculous. But, you know, we'll see. We have very good grounds.
Corinne, this is what the Constitution said, the 14th Amendment. All persons born or naturalized in the U.S. and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the U.S. and of the state wherein they reside. So that'll be the rub. How do you see it?
The legal challenges are going to be extremely difficult here. I really don't see a clear path for this executive order in the courts. But more than that, the president wants to, I understand the point of what he's trying to do here. He's trying to deter illegal immigration, saying that you can't just come here and have a baby and have it become an American citizen. I don't think that that's the most effective strategy on the table right now. For one, I mean, he's listed other effective strategies as deterrents. Remain in Mexico, designating cartels as terrorist organizations. This strategy in particular, birthright citizenship, not only is the legal oxygen it's going to take up just not going to be worth it, but the political capital that he is expending on this is frankly not worth it. That lawsuit, it's not just 22 left-wing states, it's swing states like Nevada and Michigan. So I think that the political capital here is just not worth it.
Okay, you may be right about that. Bill Barr was on with Martha yesterday, and he's making the point that at a minimum, what Trump is trying to do is bring attention to it. Listen to this from yesterday afternoon on the story.
It's going to take a lot. It's an uphill battle because there's a lot of precedent over the last 150 years, in practice more than precedent, actually. And I think the courts are going to be potentially reluctant to change that in the face just of an executive order. But I think it's worth starting the battle. I think once the people understand the arguments, they'll be supportive of what the president's trying to accomplish.
So, Karine, you mentioned the map. Here it is, right? You got Arizona, you got Nevada, North Carolina, Michigan, Wisconsin. Those are battleground states. Noah, what Barr just said, it's worth starting the battle.
I think that's probably the only objective here, which is to either get the courts to strike it down and to argue against the courts, or to induce Congress to take a run at this and see if the courts will be favorable to it. I'm very skeptical, but the idea here is to start a conversation around the remedy to the 14th Amendment, which would likely have to be constitutional. And as Mr. Barr said, very uphill climb. You're going to find it difficult to find a poll that finds anything less than majority support for birthright citizenship. Now let's talk Turkey. Donald Trump does this at the expense of his other priorities. There's opportunity cost to everything you do. He has wide latitude to address illegal immigration. We are not talking about illegal immigration. We're talking about legal immigration. Think of the common sense that he evoked in his inaugural address. What do people think of when they think of illegal immigrants? Are they thinking of the infant child of a person here on a student or work visa, which is what this EO does? Or are they talking about the adult population with no prospects and will likely become a ward of the state? That's who they're thinking of. And that's what he's taking his eye off the ball. It's inauspicious. What did Joe Biden down? Joe Biden had a very narrow remit when he entered office, and he allowed his administration to be captured by wild-eyed ideologues with no sense of the world outside their own cohort, who directed his administration to muscle through programs that the public did not like. He lost his mandate, and he lost his job. Donald Trump should take lessons from that.
It is interesting that public opinion changed so much because of the Biden policies. And so now President Trump is there. And we're going to start the conversation. I find it fascinating, and we appreciate you being here to talk about it. Corinne and Noah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It should have never happened. October 7th should have never happened. Nobody should be dead. But through weakness, they allowed it to happen.
Okay, so President Trump saying the latest freed Israeli hostages would not be free if not for him. Can the White House keep the deal on track? Special Envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff, will be our guest on that and more coming up. Don't miss this. So this is an intriguing story and development. You got 4 suspects in Ohio now under arrest in connection to the burglary at the home of Cincinnati Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow. All of them are Chilean nationals here in the U.S. illegally. For more, Alexis McAdams is to report on this now. What you find out, Alexis?
Well, like you said, I think a lot of people were wondering when there was going to be an arrest in this case. It took about a month, but the Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow was on the field. He wasn't even at his house when police say 4 migrants broke into his home. And now those men, originally from Chile, are behind bars. Police say this is the group, okay, part of a South American gang. They range in age from 22 to 38 years old. Those are their mugshots. The 4 are now facing burglary charges after police pulled them over earlier this month and found some of Burrow's things that were stolen from his house. Like what? Well, an old LSU shirt and a Bengals hat. On December 9th, during Monday Night Football, police responded to Burrow's home. Listen to this.
We do have a shattered window into the bedroom. The bedroom has been ransacked.
Yeah, ransacked, things were taken, and they walked right out of that house. It wasn't just the Bengals quarterback Joe Burrow's house in Cincinnati, Ohio. The Ohio Attorney General says these men are behind a string of burglaries targeting multi-million-dollar homes. So what's their alibi? Well, the migrants told police they were in Ohio to see the snow. But investigators say one of their cell phones pinged a cell tower right in Burrow's neighborhood, showing they were in the area at the time of the burglary. So try to get out of that. Burrow says it's not just about what was taken.
I feel like my privacy has been violated in more ways than one, and way more is already out there than I would want out there and that I care to share.
So the NFL did issue a security alert back in November telling their athletes that an organized and skilled criminal ring was targeting their houses because they knew when they'd be out of town because they could watch them on TV. After this, both Kansas City Chiefs stars Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce had their homes burglarized just a month earlier. So
no arrests in Kansas City so far, right?
No arrests in Kansas City.
I was reading about this. There are multiple investigations. They were targeting rich people, not just athletes, known as tourist burglars.
Yeah.
Like they come to the U.S.
going
on
for a
a
while.
tourist visa.
Yeah, well, we know too, right, from being in New York, how many crimes have happened here linked to migrant gangs, and they're saying that's the same thing. It's just as Dana was saying, we didn't know so much about the Chilean gangs, so it's interesting on that.
I think the Louis Vuitton bag might have been a tip-off.
I think so, maybe.
More to come, Alexis.
Thanks,
thank
Alexis.
you.
Thank
Nice to see
you.
you.
Good to see you.
President Trump taking the helm on the international stage as well, steering the ship of state through from dangerous hazards as he and his administration work to set America on a course for global greatness, as they call it. Welcome to a brand new hour of America's Newsroom. I'm Dana Perino.
And I'm Bill Hemmer. Good morning.